Alright, good morning Marines. My name is Sergeant Plain. I'm going to be giving you your brief on sexual behaviors today. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to break down the basics. So what is the difference between sexual behavior and sexual orientation? Now some of you may think, well, sexual orientation is what you do or you don't. You know, it's either like you're gay, you're straight, lesbian, etc. But that's actually like, you would think that's actually behavior, but it's not. Behavior is simply the do's or don'ts of what you do. Orientation is the combination of three different things. It's one, how you feel; two, what you do, that behavior; and then three, how you identify yourself. So those three things give you your sexual orientation. So although, you know, it seems kind of basic, I just wanted to go over everything, make sure everyone's tracking on behavior is actually what happens. It's the do's and the don'ts. All right, so now we're gonna get further into the actual behaviors. Now, this may seem, we're gonna get a little crazy. This may seem a little in depth for some of you, but I want you all to keep your an open mind, and we'll get through this together. All right, so we're gonna go through what's viewed as common. Let's get you all involved. Let's see what's common. What is a common sexual behavior? Well, the word common is we're going to define it as something that most people do. Now, the difference between common, we're going to cover the difference between common and normal. You might think that, hey, it's normal if I do that, or, you know, if we're all doing that, that's technically normal. But making the differentiation between normal and not normal might make someone who's into one thing compared to another feel like ostracized. So let's go with common and not normal. So we're gonna go with different common common behavior would be masturbation. So performing a sexual act on yourself, whether you're male and female, doesn't matter. You know, it's by yourself. So then so that's one person. So then we'll get into two people. So that's either oral sex, anal sex, vaginal sex, and pornography. All right, so we can call these common, these behaviors common because most people are going to do this behavior at some point in their life. They'll masturbate, they'll engage in oral sex, they might engage in anal sex, or they might engage in vaginal sex. So say if it's two gay men, the likelihood of them engaging in anal sex is high, but the possibility of them engaging in vaginal sex is possible because they're, you know, I wouldn't say impossible, but between two men it would be impossible because neither one of them has a vagina. And then pornography, so engaging in the act of watching some sort of pornography, whether that be going old school with that VHS, with your parents' VHS, or getting onto the computer and going on to some website that has some sort of pornography. Now, are any of these illegal? No, technically not. None of these are illegal if you have two consenting parties. If both the person giving and the person receiving are both consensual, it's completely legal. However, there's one stipulation that I want to make sure all of you are tracking, is that the one way the Marine Corps views it as illegal is if it's with someone else's spouse. If it's not your spouse, then it's definitely 100% illegal. All right, now we're gonna get into the less common versions of sexual behavior. So let's hear a couple examples of less common behavior. All right, so we've got BDSM. That is a very that's a form of sex where it's very dominant, where one party is more. It could be not only vocal but also like physically demanding or like abusive of one person. We can go down the rabbit hole of specifics, but we're going to keep it at just the basic of understanding what it actually is. All right, then we've got phone or cyber sex. Like if you call someone and engage in like talking with someone. Cyber sex could be either engaging in a chat room, like typing, or you could either be in like an actual like video engagement where you're both performing sexual acts on yourselves and the other person's watching. Now we've got the three most probably uncomfortable for a lot of us, or a lot of you, where it would be. Let me make sure I spell this right for all of you. All right, so we've got these three. Europhilia, based off of the first two letters, I guess we could all assume, or we could guess that yes, it is where one person is urinating on another, or both urinate on each other. You've got coprophilia, where instead of urine, you're defecating on each other, or one person's doing it on the other. And then clismophilia is where one person is receiving an enema. Now again, these are your less common versions of sexual behavior. However, again, with two consenting parties that is not someone else's spouse, again, these are completely legal. All right, so now we've covered the legal stuff. Now we need to cover the illegal sexual behavior. Now, this is important to understand and important to note, because not only do we want to prevent this from happening to ourselves, but we also want to prevent it from happening to our buddies. Whether that's male or female, no matter the sex, gender, orientation, having something, either doing this or having it happen to you is definitely not something that we want. All right, so we've got two different versions of illegal sexual behavior. That's coercive and forced. So we can go off the definitions of both coercive and forced on the idea that you can either convince someone either to get into a situation that they're not completely comfortable with, or you can convince someone to get into close to that situation, and then they start to back out, and then you actually force the sexual behavior on them. So the line kind of blurs, but regardless, per the Marine Corps, all of these are going to be illegal. So in coercive, we've got running up and rubbing against someone. So that's not just like brushing shoulders, that's actually rubbing your genitals against another person against their will. And we've got exposing yourself. That's the classic, run up with your big raincoat, jump out in front of someone, expose yourself, then close yourself and run away. And then we also have watching someone else, or peeping Tom. That's pretty much watching someone else engage in some sort of sexual behavior without their consent. Technically, if you're with other consenting adults and you all agree that two people will engage in a sexual behavior while another person watches, it's not technically illegal. However, in this sense, if without consent, it is illegal. Now, where the line really gets blurred is that sexual harassment. Now, based off of some of the briefs we've got in the past, it kind of the definition of sexual harassment has been a little bit gray. However, in this brief, we're gonna make the delineation between verbal and physical for sexual harassment. Unwanted verbal engagement with another person that's in sexual in nature that they do not want to receive. Now we're going to get into forced. So that's when it goes from sexual engagement or sexual harassment to sexual abuse. Now, we could make the argument that some of these could be sexual abuse because it is physical, it is sexual in nature. So again, there's a gray area in these two specific definitions. Now, sexual abuse can cover a lot of different items, which includes pedophilia,